Welcome to the show, Wall Street Pro and author Carol Roth and the Hill media columnist Joe Concha. I know this is a fiery panel coming up with you guys. Okay, you guys listen, Carol, it's the messaging on inflation that's bad. Inflation started taking off last year. The White House kept saying it was transitory, even zero. That left Americans with no time to prepare and build a cash cushion if they believe them. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I've been following the whole litany. I mean, first they actually told you there was going to be no inflation. Then it was going to be transitory. Then it was the consumer's fault. Then it was greedy businesses' fault. Then it was actually good for you. Then it was Putin's fault. And next up is breadlines are a great way to meet your neighbor. This is the type of thing that we have been hearing over and over again. They just keep going down and trying to push the can down the road. They're decoupled from reality. Anybody with a brain knew their policies were going to cause more inflation. We've been warning about it, and they just decided that they were going to be in denial, and that causes even more pain than the deliberate pain that they caused initially.
You hear what Carol is saying, Joe. I mean, even Obama's top economist, Jason Furman, is saying that this chronic inflation, quote, obliterates the White House trying to blame Putin or claiming it's transitory. That's Jason Furman.
Yeah, so that's somebody that we probably should listen to, considering he worked in the Obama-Biden administration. So this isn't some, right-wing pundit trying to take down the Biden administration. This is somebody who actually knows a little about the way an economy works. And to Carol's point, when you inject trillions of dollars into the economy and then have the audacity to say this will actually lower inflation through the Inflation Reduction Act, any kid with a lemonade stand knows that that's not how the economy works. And you look at these midterms coming up, Elizabeth. ABC News, Washington Post, their latest poll shows that the economy, education, inflation, and crime are easily the top 4 issues. Abortion, that's a distant fifth. January 6th, virtually non-existent. So we have a media now that focuses solely on the guy who wasn't in power or isn't in power and hasn't been for 21 months in Donald Trump, instead of focusing on Joe Biden and the Democrats in terms of what they're doing to this economy and this country in general. The priorities are completely warped because they're not journalists anymore, Elizabeth. They're activists.
There's no crime problem, according to the White House, so we should just go to crime-ridden areas, right? We're going to be safe. The border's secure, so we'll be safe going to the border. Inflation is transitory. I mean, Carol, they put into the economy since 2019 $7.5 trillion, 7.5. That's equal to putting in a Germany and France into the U.S. economy. And now we've got new analysis coming in. The Federal Reserve's cycle of rate hikes is now whipping around the fastest higher in 35 years of monetary history, nearly twice as high as what we saw with the rate hikes, what was going on in 88 and 89. So to your point, what is the strategy here?
There is no strategy. I mean, not only did they put that money into an economy, it wasn't a normally functioning economy. It was a supply-constrained economy. And all anyone is doing is trying to do something on the demand side. Biden administration is trying to stimulate demand. They keep spending. The Fed is trying to quash demand. But nobody is dealing with the supply issues that they've created. They are not changing their energy policy so we can have more abundant energy. They are not backing off of things that hold back the labor force. They're putting more in that area. They're not attacking the supply side. They're just going on the demand side, and they're at odds with each other. This is not a strategy. This is insanity.
So what Carol is saying, Joe, the president was in California. He was asked about gasoline hitting $7 a gallon. He said, well, California, it's always like that, just dismissing California's hyper tax and regulatory state on energy. Joe, I like your thoughts about this because recession slammed Nixon, Ford, Carter, and George H.W. Arguably, Ford, Carter, and George H.W. Bush's messaging was not as consistently bad and wide-ranging in how bad it is at the White House. Watch President Biden here. Listen to this.
Today's report shows, though, some progress. And from the basement to the 3rd floor, the attic, everything was ruined. And the kitchen floor, we almost lost a couple firefighters, they tell me, because the kitchen floor was the burning between the beams in the house, in addition to almost collapsed into the basement.
I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship, and in fact ended up in the top half of my class. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school.
He did not graduate in the top half of his law school class, that he does not have 3 degrees from college.
Newsweek says Biden actually went to school on a half scholarship, ended up near the bottom of his class, and won only 1 degree, not 3.
Joe Biden ranked 76th in a class of 85 at the University of Syracuse Law School.
Last night in Kabul, the United States ended 20 years of war in Afghanistan, the longest war in American history. The extraordinary success of this mission was due to the incredible skill, bravery, and selfless courage of the United States military and our diplomats and intelligence professionals. I say this as a father of a man who won the Bronze Star, the Conspicuous Service Medal, and lost his life in Iraq.
Well, Joe, Bo died of brain cancer in 2015. He did not die in Iraq.
Right.
And this is like public littering. It's like littering. And it's literally slamming his polls. Fact checkers have taken on everything he said and basically said what he's saying is wrong.
And this is your son. I get it's a midterm election, but why desecrate his memory when you know that he died, as you said, of brain cancer? He didn't die in Iraq. Like, do you really think people are this stupid? I mean, this is the same man who said time and again that he was arrested during civil rights marches, or that he was arrested trying to see Nelson Mandela while in South Africa as a senator, which I'm pretty sure we would read about if a sitting senator is being arrested on foreign soil. All these things didn't happen. And no, Mr. President, we're not at zero inflation. And no, California doesn't always just experience $7 a gallon gasoline. Under the Trump administration, when they were exiting, it was around $3 a gallon in that particular state. So what he says again and again, it's not because of his age. It's because from day one, like you played in that montage, he has been a chronic liar, talking about being at the top of his class in law school. No, you weren't. Dropping out of the '88 presidential campaign because of plagiarism. I could go on and on, but we have finite time, Elizabeth.
Yeah, the White House scrambling today. If it was kosher, Carol, to pressure OPEC to delay oil production cuts until after the midterms, when OPEC is going to meet again to keep gas low, then why scramble today? Why dodge and deny it? If it was kosher, then why do that?
Because it's not kosher. Everything is a trick. I mean, nothing makes sense. If it's okay for OPEC to produce, why is it not okay for us to produce? We produce things more cleanly, oil and gas more cleanly here than they do in the OPEC countries and in Venezuela and wherever else around the world. So yeah, they're just making things up as they go along.
Wow. Carol Roth, Joe Concha, I knew it was going to be great, and you pulled it off. As always, you guys are terrific. Thank you so much. Have a good weekend.